Hi guys. So I found this new artist that I really like. Her name is I can't remember. Hold on. Let me find it. Oh. I'm sorry. I'll find it. Her name is Sienna Spiro. So, I was listening to one of her songs on my walk earlier, and I was like, I feel this song so deeply in my heart. And it was basically about, like, some guy not seeing her worth or whatever, and, like, how she was, like, put on the back burner and never taken seriously and never, like, I don't know, just it's not a generic song, it's a great song. I'm not here to, like, make it sound like I'm not appreciating her music, because she's actually incredible. Like, please go listen. Anyway, it's like the generic feelings that every girl has felt about, like, a man or multiple men in their life. And while I was listening to it, I was looking at some pictures of her. This girl is stunning. She's like a 10. Like, genuinely, she can sing. I'm sure she can dance. I'm sure she's very emotionally intelligent and perfectly beautiful in every way. And got me thinking, why do beautiful women get cheated on, or not get seen, or not get valued or appreciated, or, like, the treatment from the person that they want? Like, why is that a thing that so many beautiful women that I know and that are in the media, and even, like, celebrities and, like, anyone in the world, why do they not get appreciated? Because I look at these women and I think, wow, like, you are just, like, the pinnacle of beauty. And, like, you know, I follow a lot of girls on TikTok, and not only are they beautiful girls, they're also smart and funny and dress well and have things to say. And I think to myself, like, what could you not want from that? And I was thinking, like, I'm trying to think from a man's perspective. Why would you not want that? And I was having this conversation with one of my friends, like, maybe like about a year ago, actually. And she was saying, this is my friend Kate, she was saying that the reason that these men are so easy to, like, just, like, pick up women and put them down and disregard them is because there are so many beautiful, interesting, smart, funny, intelligent, well-dressed, well-mannered, well-poised women these days, that women have kind of not lost their value, but, like, in the eye of a man, they've lost their value as the prize, because there is so many of these high caliber women that if they fumble one, there will be another one. And because, like, let's be real, you know, no offense to any of the men, but, like, finding a man attractive is a rarity in and of itself, but finding a man interesting is even rarer. So I think for these girls, you know, it's like the 80-20 thing, like 80%, I can't remember what it is, thinking from adolescence, like 80% of women are attracted to 20% of men, but 80% of men are attracted to 80% of women. I don't fucking know what it is. But basically, it's like men aren't that picky, whereas women are far more picky. And I think when looking at, like, why beautiful women get cheated on, that has something to do with this. Is, like, a woman can be textbook perfect. You know, she can have everything going for her. She'll still get cheated on. And it doesn't mean that the person that they cheated on is better or worse. It's just, they're just different, or I don't know, whatever it is. But it's like, why is that? And it doesn't even have to be about cheating. It can just be about, You know, when you're like seeing someone and you really like them, and then you just get the vibe that they're just not really interested in you. Like, it can even be as simple as that. And it's like, I find this, like, when I speak to my friends about their boy dilemmas, I'm like, why would he not want you? Like, I want you. If I could choose to be not straight, I would. And this is why I hate when people say, like, that gay is a choice, because if it was a choice, boy, would I make that choice, you know? And I think, like, it's really indicative of, I think, that, like, maybe, like, the male character to search for things. Like, you know, I think historically men have always been people that are kind of always looking for the next, whether that's in career, whether that was in hunter-gatherer times, whether that is, you know, in relationship. I think men are potentially predisposed to constantly be on the lookout. And I think maybe less of it is predisposition and more of it is conditioning. But I think these days it's heightened because of the variety and the options that are available. Make it like facilitates the ease. Like, it's so easy to cheat these days, specifically like emotional affairs, or, you know, like having a work wife or like something like that. It's like, it's very easy to cheat digitally, or, you know, go on a lad's holiday and cheat. Whereas if you looked in like the 1950s, I'm not saying people didn't cheat, and I don't know why we always coin it to the 1950s. I don't know why that's always the era that people look to, but I think that was potentially the last era of, like, you know, proper insular communities where there was maybe 2 or 3 real belles of the ball in the town, and everyone would vie for them. So they had their pick of the bunch. Whereas now, you know, people are far more globalized, and people move around. New people move in, people move out. Like, you know, we also have the digital element. You can just go online and go on a dating app and swipe and your heart out. Like, there's so much more visibility for beauty these days that I think, I'm trying to think about this from a man's perspective, which is never going to work. And I'm sure if any man is listening to this, they're going to be like, no, you're wrong. But I'm just trying to, this would be my rationale, is they think, or maybe they don't think about it, but they just see so many beautiful women that they don't look at you for what you are. Because I feel like, do you know, I'm reading this book at the minute, and it's about communication. It's called Why Don't People Listen by Hugh McKay. It's a great book. You should read it if you want to. And it talks about how when we deliver information to people, we deliver it to them the way that we would want it to be delivered to us, or in the way that we would understand it if it were relayed to us. And that misses out a very important critical piece of understanding, which is that you can never fully, no matter how well you know someone, you can never fully comprehend the way that information, you know, like any form of stimuli is going to enter someone's brain. Like, whether that be you having an argument with someone, telling them you love them, or how you look, you know, it's like everyone's going to interpret everything differently. That's like beauty's in the eye of the beholder, that type of thing. So in terms of communication, I'm kind of trying to make this relate to like a looks-based thing, right? You know, you could be so, I feel like I keep repeating these same fucking adjectives, but like, you know, well-educated, well-dressed, well-groomed, super pretty, you know, like everything that sums up a desirable characteristics in someone. And you present to them the best version of yourself, and it feels like it's still not enough, or it feels like they're still not seeing you. And I think a large majority of that comes down to the fact that they aren't. And like, this is a kind of a hard pill to swallow, because it's hard to hear that you're not enough. And I don't mean that in the sense of like you personally aren't enough. That's not what I'm saying. But what I mean is what we choose as women to put out specifically for men. And I think this is why decentering men is so important, because I think as women we are conditioned from a young age to think about what men tell us they want, or what other women tell us that men have told them that they want, and cater to that. So then when we do that and then it's still not enough, we think, well, the fuck do you want? Like, you know, I'm pretty sure like Megan Fox has been cheated on, Beyonce's been cheated on, like all the baddies have been cheated on. So what now? And like, I think it comes down like, I'm really, it really makes sense in my head, but finding the words to explain this and articulate it is very difficult. It's like we curate every thing that we say and do is curated in a way that is relevant and related to us and ourselves. Like the type of clothes you wear, the makeup you do, the art that you are interested in, the books that you read, the media you consume, the friends you have, even, you know, the way you look. Do you gua sha? Do you do yoga? Do you choose to run? Do you want to be athletic, or do you want to be, you know, like, I don't fucking know, whatever it is. We all choose things based on our version of what is, like, not attainable. That's not the right word. What's the right word? Admirable? I don't know. Like, we curate ourselves from the minute we're born. And I'm not trying to say this in the sense of like nothing's real. I don't believe that curation equals fake. I think that curation equals character. And I think there is a level of curation that can be fake if you look at media and marketing. And I do think some of that trickles down into, you know, people being inauthentic within themselves. But that's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about genuine personal curation and like kind of just like growing up, right? And I think it's kind of up to you individually to decide how much of your curation is for yourself or for the male gaze, you know, like that is kind of, it's kind of a separate discussion, but it's, I think, somewhat relevant here. So I guess I might touch on it lightly. But I have other podcasts about this. Like if you look at like last summer, so like summer 2024, I have a few podcasts around then, because that was when I really started working on decentering men in my life. And a lot of the work I did around that time was trying to unpick narratives in my head of, am I doing something because I think it will be taken a certain way, or am I doing something because I will take it a certain way? And this kind of goes back into the injection model that this book talks about, how when you inject a message into someone, we believe that it just goes straight in. We inject that message in the way that it was out, you know? We have that message in our head, we inject it the exact same way in. And this book makes a really good point about talking about how if you give a speech to 100 people, you're gonna, there's that conference or meeting or fucking whatever it is gonna end with 100 different points of view, because no one is gonna take the same meaning from that message. And it's the same not just with communication, but with every form of interaction or like day-to-day life. And I think communication, I think people typically talk about that in the sense of speaking to each other. And I think communication is so much more than just verbal. And, you know, I think they say like it's like 60% of communication is body language. And I don't know the actual statistics, I don't know what, but I feel like a large part of communication is how you present and how you choose to look. You know, like what you would wear for an interview might be different to what you wear to work a year down the line. And why is that? You know, you're comfortable. But it's like if you go on a date, that might be different to what you wear on your 15th date when you've been together for however long. And it's like, I think this thing of like, why do we choose to try more in certain elements? And this was kind of like the whole male gaze thing, was like, you shouldn't try, or you shouldn't put yourself in the position where like a man can invoke feelings of feeling worthless, I don't know, feeling worthless, because I think if we weren't trying, you wouldn't have those feelings attached to it. And I think that's like the kind of the point, is that when you're not trying, there's no disappointment. So like, this is kind of irrelevant, but like, I'm very not competitive. I don't care about sports. I don't care about games. When I play card games, I play them to enjoy them. I don't play to win. So I'm never really disappointed if I don't win. And if I do win, yippee, you know, like, how fun for me. So it's things like that where it's like, I just innately am not competitive. So that's just, I am just predisposed to not feeling those feelings of disappointment when I don't win. However, if you were innately competitive, because I do believe certain people are innately competitive and others aren't. So, you know, that being said, am I potentially saying here that the free will, in the sense of being let down, isn't actually free will at all? Because if I was innately predisposed to be competitive and I lose and I feel let down by that, I didn't have any control over that. I didn't have control over feeling let down that I didn't win, if that's an innate trait. And I actually saw this video the other day about free will and preference. And when you're born, you have a natural preference to things. And the girl used a really neutral example of cups. She had 3 cups in front of her, and she said, visually, I like this cup, so I bought it, but I prefer the mouthfeel and the drink format of this cup, so I will always choose this cup. Even though I like both cups, I have an innate preference towards one cup because of a sensory element that I cannot control. I have the free will to buy both of those cups. I do not have the free will over the fact that I prefer the mouthfeel and the drinkability. If you're like autistic or neurodivergent, have ADHD or something, you'll so understand what I'm on about. But like, you can't control the fact that you have a preference towards one thing. Same goes for literally every other avenue of life. I can't control the fact that I like to talk. I can't control the fact that I like clothes. I can't control the fact that I like certain things or don't like certain things. Like, I can't. That is just innate in me. So that being said, back to the, you know, competitiveness argument, is it free will to feel let down by things, or is that something that is completely out of your control? Because if it's out of your control, that kind of begs the question that free will as a whole doesn't really exist unless it's to do with decision making. But decision making relies on your likes and dislikes. I can choose to date 3 different men, right? Thinking of the cups and the men. I don't fucking know. I don't know why I'm talking in threes, but I can choose to date 3 different men. And they can all have excellent traits and excellent attributes, whatever it is. But innately, there will be a preference for one over the other, even though that doesn't mean that one isn't better at one thing than the other, or one isn't more attractive than the other. But so do I have free will in that moment to, you know, decide which one is like better or worse? And, you know, one might be more caring, But it's like this thing of like, like when your friend will say to you like, oh, he's so nice to me and he treats me well and he does things for me and he, it's all the things I want. Why is it not there? And he's attractive and he, on paper it works, but in real life it doesn't. It's like, if I could choose to, I would, but I can't, so I don't know what to do. And then you feel like a prick because you're like, I asked for this, I get it, and it's not good enough. And it kind of, this is again me trying to think from a man's perspective. It's like, because I know so many girls, and I've been one of those girls before, I've been like, it's there, but it's not there, like, as an outsider looking in, you think, yeah, this is a great match, but then it's actually not. And it's like, I feel like I'm on the pinnacle here of like understanding myself, and I'm just going to keep going. So sorry if this is like really rambly, but I feel like it's like the choice you make. Is it actually a choice if it's based on your preferences, but your preferences aren't really your preferences, they're just innately in you. Like, it's like, I was born in this body, and when I die, this body will decompose. So are the preferences part of the body or part of the soul? I believe them to be part of the soul. So if they're part of the soul, can they be modified? Can they be rectified? Can they be changed? This is like gone a completely different way to like women being cheated on. But I just feel like I need to stick with it. So sorry, guys, this isn't exactly what I thought it would be. But, so if the preferences are innate to the soul, and soul contracts are, like, kind of all binding and, I was going to say legible. I don't know where that word's come from, but, like, if you believe in string theory, as most of, I would say, my generation does, there's no changing who means what to you. Like, you can't change who's going to be important to you and who's not. So with that argument, you can't get upset when a man doesn't see you for who you are, because you clearly aren't strung together. Because if you think about it, we meet hundreds of different people a day. Maybe you don't. I do. I'm a fucking barista. I meet every different person every single day. Obviously, there's regulars, whatever. But on the most part, I am consistently meeting new people. And why is it that sometimes I click with them and sometimes I don't? And I've met people at work and we've clicked and we've become friends and we've stayed friends for years and years and years. And other people, our paths never cross again. We kind of, work friends for a few months, then I get a new job and whatever. So why is it that certain people you click with, string theory, okay, whatever. So I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. I just need to like re-jog my thought. So if you are a girl and you're disheartened about a boy and he's not seeing you, and I mean, it doesn't have to just be a boy. I'm just speaking from my, like, I'm straight. So that's the way that I perceive the world. Or it's not the way I perceive the world, but it's the way that I view things through that lens because I'm straight. So I'm not trying to, like, if you are talking about another girl, absolutely fine. But I also don't have too much of an understanding on, like, LGBTQ politics in terms of interpersonal relationships. Like, I'm not too well versed on the difference in dynamics between dating a boy or dating a girl, because I've never dated a girl. And, like, I've heard stories from my friends of them dating other girls. But I think it's a bit different to, like, a lived experience. So take it with a pinch of salt. If you aren't straight and you're listening to this and you're like, what the fuck is she on about? This is very much for the straight experience. And if it applies to you, excellent. But if it doesn't, I'm sorry. And I wish I had more of an understanding. But alas, unfortunately, I'm straight. The world's greatest burden has been placed upon me. However, there's not much I can do about it. But I feel like if we, we make the choices that we make, and you kind of, as a person, when you want to do something, and you know whether or not that's going to upset someone else. And whether or not you choose to do it is kind of irrelevant in this discussion. But you choose to have these conversations, you choose to, whatever you choose to do. If you're seeing someone and then you kind of start seeing someone else, but you have more of a connection with that other person, it's like, you kind of know you shouldn't be, but like, the heart wants what it wants, you know? And it's like, is that just because that you prefer the mouthfeel of that cup? Like, I really hope this is like, you guys are understanding what I'm saying. Like, people are like the cups. Like, you'll prefer the mouthfeel, like, no pun intended. But, like, certain people you will prefer the mouthfeel of to other people if they were cups. You know what I mean? And it's like, that can hurt other people's feelings sometimes. And I think this kind of goes back to what I was saying before, is like, why do some people cheat? I think a lot of that typically, and I think this is what I was saying earlier about how men are kind of either conditioned or predisposed. I'm not really sure, and I'm also not excusing predisposition as a reason to cheat. I don't think just because you're predisposed to something as a specific gender or type of person that you should go out and do it, you know? Like, people are predisposed to, like, having like psychopathy traits. That doesn't mean that you should go out and kill someone, you know? Like, I think this is another part of the argument as well, is you can have urges and you can have the drive, but then the acting on it part is where it's kind of and that's why I think a lot of girls get really upset when people that they're dating don't treat them a certain way, because these other people will just act on their innate urges and not really consider the feelings or like the emotional, what's the word, consequences of the person that it's going to affect. Because like, if you cheat on someone, that's going to have a very detrimental effect on them. And I think unless you've been cheated on, you kind of don't really like you can't really grasp like the way it feels. But like, it's I think it's not even just about cheating. It's like the feeling of not being seen or valued. And like, when you're not valued, I feel like I don't know why I keep going back to this cup analogy, and I'm really sorry because I know it's probably really annoying. It's the only way that my brain is allowing me to comprehend it. But it's like, in that moment, you are observing yourself as the cup, and all the kind of, I don't know what the word be, all of the power is placed on the person drinking from the cup, you know? Metaphorically speaking, you are placing yourself as the object of someone else's desire, the cup, and the person drinking from the cup is like the spouse or the love interest or whatever. But I think as women, we need to realise that we are only the cup in someone else's brain. And that is nothing to do with us. Like, someone else's brain is absolutely nothing to do with us. It's like completely, genuinely forget about it. Like, you are never going to be able to understand that. So whereas I have felt like the cup, or like the undesired cup, the pretty cup that no one wants to drink from, I felt like that many times. Even the ugly cup that no one wants to drink from, I felt like that. Like, you know, I felt like all three cups. And everyone knows you always want to feel like the cup with the best mouthfeel, because that's the cup that's going to be chosen every time. But what you don't realise is that each person is going to have different preferences for mouthfeel. Some people might not even care about mouthfeel, and they might prefer the pretty cup. Some people might prefer the ugly cup because it has sentimental meaning, you know? Metaphorically, this is one big metaphor, if you couldn't fucking tell, obviously. But this is the thing, right, is if we keep positioning ourselves as metaphorical cups, we keep setting ourselves up to be the object of XYZ's desire. Whereas the goal, and I think this is the goal of decentering men, is to, and also I know some next bitch is going to be like, women aren't objects. I'm like, please, I'm sorry, like, I'm not referring to women as cups, like, it's just the metaphor. I'm sorry, like, I promise you I'm not calling you a cup, I'm not calling you an object. It's just the only way that my brain is like logically letting me explain this in a way that I think makes remotely any sense. But we need to realise that in everyone else that you meet, you are going to be a cup. To everyone else you meet, you're the cup. But you kind of need to shift the perspective view and come back into yourself and realize that you are the observer of all the cups. Everyone else that you meet is a cup and you're a person, and to everyone else, you're the cup and they're the person. And that's how we interact. It's like you meet someone, what kind of cup are they? Okay. Because I found this, right, when I was like really learning about who my friends were and who my friends weren't and stuff, the biggest realization, and something that I hold to this day so strongly, it's one of my biggest like core beliefs, is like, why am I worried about if they like me? Do I like them? Because I would quite often find that I would spend a lot of time worrying if someone liked me when I actually just didn't like them. But I didn't want to like, it's almost like I didn't want to admit to myself that I didn't like them, because it might have, stifled the potential for future growth in a relationship, because everyone knows that I want to be friends with everyone. Like, everyone wants to be friends with everyone. So it's easier to assume that someone else doesn't like you instead of realizing that maybe you don't like them. And that's an example of shifting the cup theory back onto you. Is like, instead of being like, do they not like my cup? It's like, well, I don't like their cup. And that's okay. You have to not, and it's not even a case of like not liking their cup. It's just not your preference. Or maybe it's your preference sometimes, but there might be a better cup you can drink from. And you can use this analogy in a lot of different ways. Like and it can be subjective. Like sometimes that might be your cup of choice. And this isn't to say that you pick people up and put them down. That might be your cup in certain moments, but in other moments there might be a cup that's better suited to your needs. Like sometimes you need a jug and sometimes you need a cup, babe. Like sometimes you need a wine glass and sometimes you need a mug. Like cups, there's many different types of cups, and it's like, this is like literal bullshit, but like each cup is for a specific thing, a specific purpose, and there might be a cup to teach you something, hypothetically. But it's like, I think this is the end goal, and I'm going to wrap it up here because we've been going for a long time and I really feel like I'm going to start to do your head in. But the main point, I think, of why this isn't even about why people get cheated on. That was just, I think, just the opener. I think the point of this podcast is why we care so strongly when the people that we want to care about us, that we care about, don't care about us back in the way that we want them to, or the way that we think that we care about them. And I think the main takeaway from this is that you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I'm sorry. Like, I know that was really bad. It came to me and I had to. Like, that was really, really terrible, and it was a really cheesy joke. But I leave you with that. And I hope in some vicinity you understand my cup theory. It's not my cup theory. It's the girl on TikTok that made the cup. I hope you understand the cup theory. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry. I can't tell whether this is the best or the worst episode I've ever made. So please let me know in the comments. Thank you. Goodbye.